The last bacterial infection we are going to discuss is syphilis, which is caused by Treponema pallidum. There are two modes of transmission basically, acquired form and the congenital form. Even congenital you can say is kind of acquired. Acquired is by the sexual contact, and sometimes if the infected blood is transfused, then it spreads through that. Congenital form, why did I say congenital form is also an acquired form? Because it is acquired from the mother. The fetus acquires the infection from an already infected mother. So the disease basically proceeds through three distinct stages: primary, secondary and tertiary. Primary and secondary are the most infectious stages, and maternal transmission during these stages results in miscarriage, or the mother completes the trimester but the baby is born still, and if he is born alive then it can have congenital malformation. So primary syphilis, each stages of syphilis has a characteristic lesion. Okay, so in primary syphilis you must remember it is chancre, which is seen at the site of inoculation. Inoculation is where the bacteria enters the body and gets inoculated. So it is about 3 to 90 days after the exposure at the site of inoculation. And the site of inoculation, because it is a sexually transmitted disease, is either genitalia or oral based upon the sexual practices. And in the beginning it will be a papillary lesion, but eventually it undergoes a central ulceration. As you can see here, there is a central ulceration, and it is a painless indurated ulcer which later on becomes brownish and crusted, and the most common areas are lips and the tongue intraorally. Along with these ulceration, we also see bilateral lymph node swelling, which will be firm but painless upon palpation. Lesion heals without any kind of treatment within 3 to 12 weeks and does not leave any kind of scarring. The secondary syphilis begins after 2 to 10 weeks. That is, if the primary syphilis goes undetected, if the patient does not take the treatment, then it begins after 2 to 10 weeks. And spirochetes get disseminated. How does it get disseminated? Through blood and through lymph nodes and many other ways. And that results in reddish brown maculopapular cutaneous rash. That is the characteristic lesion for secondary syphilis, which are called as mucus patches because the oral mucus ulcers are covered by a mucoid exudate. Can you see here? The ulcers are covered with a mucoid exudate. And another lesion which we see here is called as condyloma lata, which occur as elevated lesion. Okay, these are called as vertical plaques, and this is seen both on skin as well as mucosal surface. So two characteristic lesion, mucus patches, condyloma lata. Tertiary syphilis, the characteristic lesion is called as gumma. But this tertiary lesion takes many years to appear, and it has become very rare because of the effective antibiotic treatment, again thanks to advances in medicine. But if it does occur, it affects all the major system, that is cardiovascular, central nervous system and the visceral organs, resulting in general paralysis, locomotor ataxia when it is affecting the central nervous system, aneurysm when it is affecting the cardiovascular system. That is the reason why tertiary syphilis, when it appears, can be bad compared to primary and secondary. And intraorally, tertiary syphilis affects the tongue and palate. Palate It can lead to sloughing and palatal perforation, as you can see here, which starts as an ulcer but eventually undergoes sloughing and leading to palatal perforation in the worst case scenario. And when tongue is affected in syphilis, it is called as lutic glossitis. Liu was the person who described or discovered syphilis as a bacterial infection, and that's why the name is given after him. Glossitis is the term which is used for inflammation of the tongue. So lutic glossitis is mucosal atrophy, and this is considered as a pre-malignant lesion which carries a very high risk of conversion to squamous cell carcinoma. So those were the 3 stages. Now let's talk about the congenital syphilis, which is acquired from the mother to the baby, and it may affect any organ system in the developing fetus. Let's describe the oral manifestations. It is called as Hutchinson's triad, where there is dental abnormality, interstitial keratitis, and deafness. Dental abnormalities are of 2 kinds. Can you see this? This is called as screwdriver shaped incisors, and the molars look like mulberry and they're called as mulberry molars. So these 2 are very important dental abnormalities which we see because the spirochete affects the enamel organ during amelogenesis stage. Interstitial keratitis is when there is inflammatory reaction seen in the cornea. And along with these, there can also be saddle nose with a nasal deformity, and there can be a short maxilla and protuberance of the mandible, which is the reverse of the normal occurrence. Usually, mandible is behind the maxilla, and in this case, maxilla becomes shorter, so retruded, and hence mandible looks protruded. Histopathologically, in primary, the surface epithelium is ulcerated, as you can see histopathologically. In secondary, it can be either ulcerated or it can be sometimes hyperplastic as well, as you can see here. And in the tertiary, there can be surface ulceration along with the pseudoepitheliomatous hyperplasia. A proliferative end arteritis, as you can see in this image, along with the foci of granulomatous inflammation, is also characteristic of syphilis because it is a granulomatous inflammation. It can be identified by using a special stain called as silver stain, where the organism look like corkscrew shaped. Can you see here? So these are filamentous spirochetes against a silver background. Or it can be seen through direct fluorescent antibody testing, where you can see against the black background you can see fluorescent green organisms. So differential diagnosis can be anything which has a ulcer as its clinical feature, like erythema multiforme, aphthous ulceration, herpetiform ulcers. But the final diagnosis can be reached either by microscopic examination, by identifying the bacteria, and by the histopathological features along with the clinical features which are very characteristic for the disease.